Hi, I'm Rev Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for 40 years. I'm going through the text this year, starting this year anyway, and I'm reading a paragraph or two at a time and asking for clarity. And then I write from that clarity, and that's what I'm sharing with you today. So let's get started. We're looking today, chapter 1, ACIM, Miracles Principles, and we're looking at principles 21 and 22. So miracles are natural signs of forgiveness. This is 21. Miracles are natural signs of forgiveness. Through miracles, you accept God's forgiveness by extending it to others. Later in the text of A Course in Miracles, I'm told that God does not forgive because God never condemns. Yet the Miracles Principles 21 speaks of God's forgiveness. So what is God's forgiveness? Well, first, let's look at what forgiveness means from the ego's perspective. I see someone's actions and I judge as to whether or not they're guilty. Then I decide whether or not to forgive them. Of course, I don't really forgive them because I believe in their guilt. So I need another option, and thus God's forgiveness. God's forgiveness is different, though. It's a certainty that not one of his children has done anything that needs forgiveness. This means that when someone has done something that seems to need forgiveness, I must see past their actions and words to their essence. Who they are could never need forgiveness. It took me many years to understand and accept this. I kept looking at each instance in which I felt guilty or thought someone was guilty and tried to see the innocence. I tried to see how I could be innocent this time, or how that person could be innocent when they were so clearly guilty. Eventually, after giving my willingness to be wrong about that time and to be wrong about the next time over and over again, I finally understood. I am not innocent of this or that. I am simply innocent. In order to truly believe I am forgiven, I had to give up the idea of guilt. Before the idea of separation, there was no such thing as guilt. And since separation is an illusion, so is guilt. What is not in God does not exist. There is no guilt in God, so there can be none in me or anyone else. Let me say that again. Because there's no guilt in God, there can be no guilt. I am innocent. So are you. And that's simply a fact. Life, as I experience it through the character of Myron, is just a story played out on the biggest and most spectacular 3D screen ever. What happens in this story is not real, and the characters are not real. Who is there to be guilty? What could they be guilty of? Within my story, I'm in charge of everything that happens. Everyone who shows up for my little production of the life of Myron does so at my invitation. They play the part I assigned them and read the lines I gave them. How could they be guilty of anything? Every good story has a theme, a purpose, and something to be accomplished. My story is no different. My theme has been one of victimization, and the purpose has been to discover that this is not possible. So early on, right from the beginning, I set up her story so that she would feel like a victim in many little ways, and some big ones. How could victimization be proven impossible if no one played the victim? So all these characters, the main characters, the bit characters, and the extras, helped Myron feel like a victim so she could finally learn she wasn't. The actors who played her parents began the process of teaching she was a victim, and many others joined in to add to the idea. Each one did his or her part exactly as directed, and did it to support her in her decision to learn that no one is a victim of the world they see. There were also those who helped her learn that she was not a victim by leaving clues or by encouraging and supporting her. They wrote books for her to discover and read. They loved her even when she was acting out her victim behavior, such as blaming and projecting onto them. They too did this at my direction for the purpose of helping me learn that no one can be a victim. There's no difference between the two groups of people. They are all here in the story of Myron to support me in my quest for the truth. So is there to forgive? What is there to forgive? The quest is coming to an end, as within the story of Myron has begun to realize this, and she reacts differently to the other actors. When someone treats her as if she's a victim, she no longer obliges that behavior, but she also no longer blames them for playing their part. She sees them not as guilty, but only confused. In her heart, she knows they're innocent, and eventually she sees them shift again. Now it's not that she refuses to see them guilty. She simply cannot see them as guilty. Guilt is becoming meaningless to her. This certainty, this conviction that guilt is not real and no one is guilty, built slowly throughout the entire production. She began to accept her own innocence by extending God's forgiveness to others. This is a miracle story. So, principle number 22. Miracles are associated with fear only because of the belief that darkness can hide. You believe what your physical eyes cannot see. You believe that what your physical eyes cannot see does not exist. This leads to a denial of spiritual sight. It's hard to believe that we would be afraid of miracles, but I know that this is true. Miracles completely turn our worldview upside down. Miracles stand outside the laws we made to govern our little kingdom. An occasional miracle is pretty interesting and exciting, but what if miracles started happening all the time everywhere? They would disprove the laws we have in place to keep our kingdom intact, and we would have to face the fact that our kingdom must not be real. Not everyone is ready for that. Our eyes don't show us what is in front of us. They are made to report to us what we want to see. In this way, we could make a world that suits our purposes and not be distracted by truth. Imagine it this way. Everything in front of you is light. When you want to see a living room with furniture, your eyes show you the living room down to the tiniest detail. Your eyes are also showing you many other things when it shows you that living room. Is your view of the world one of poverty and lack? Then it will show you a shabby living room. Is your worldview depressing, limiting, and oppressive? Then it might show you a dimly lit and colorless living room. Whatever your eyes show you will support the view you have of the world. In reality, it's all just light. It takes form according to our desires and beliefs. There's nothing solid or real or permanent in the world. Form appears and disappears according to our wishes. While our eyes show us nothing real, they report back to us a perfect picture of our desires. I rented a house one year that seemed perfect for my needs. I loved the yard, and everything else about it was perfectly satisfactory. It was larger than my old house and needed more furniture, so it was kind of empty in places. Occasionally, I would look around and think, I should buy a little table for that corner and put a lamp on it, something like that. But I never did. I had pictures that were never hung. I had some boxes I never emptied. My daughter once commented that my house looked like a hotel, and I put it down to being busy. Then one day I received guidance to buy a house. I was surprised because I've always said I didn't want to do that. As a single woman, I didn't think I wanted the responsibility of keeping a house in repair. Also, I didn't have the kind of down payment you need to buy a house, so I thought it was out of the question. But the guidance seemed really clear, so I knew it would happen. And sure enough, things fell into place in ways I would never have foreseen. When I moved into that rented house, my only regret was that being a rent house, I might have to move again someday. But I hoped it would be a long way off. But that was just my thoughts, my ego mind judging and making decisions. It still does that. I just don't pay any attention to it. When I looked at this house, my eyes showed me what my heart knew, a temporary dwelling, a stopping off place. I didn't try to change that because a permanent home was not my true desire at that time. This was all unconscious, and it's only in retrospect that I saw it. The truth is, none of it is real. It's all light taking form, as is my will. If I believe only what my eyes show me, I will fail to see what lies beneath the form. I will believe that what I see is immutable and that I'm a victim of it. I will feel imprisoned by what I see, all the time blind to myself as a jailer, and therefore hopelessly trapped. Even if I imagine beauty all around me, if I fail to see the source of that beauty, I would be trapped by my blindness, still be trapped by my ignorance. It would just be a prettier trap. I see that there is something real behind the form that thoughts take. That is my spiritual sight. It's not associated with my eyes in any way. It is true vision. It led me to dwell temporarily in that nice house, and it led me to let it go. Vision led me to see form differently, to see through the illusion of bodies, the belief in pain and suffering. Sometimes my vision blurs, and I experience all of this as real, and so it takes form according to my temporary belief, and I feel as if I am Myron, and this body is real, and it hurts. But no matter how convincing the illusion, I can never completely believe in it, because once you know something, you can't unknow it. Everything that seems real, solid, and important in this world is an opportunity to remember the truth. I feel pain, and I remember that pain is not real. I feel angry, and I remember that anger is not real. The same for fear and guilt. Everything becomes a way I set aside sight and embrace vision. Thanks so much for joining me in this reading. I hope that you enjoyed it and found it helpful. And if so, then please like it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. And thanks for the new people who have subscribed. I appreciate you very much. I will see you tomorrow with another principle.